Alrighty, welcome to the fourth episode of Doug's Dugout. And as always, we've got Doug in the house to give us the latest on baseball and his favorite team, the Redbirds. So, Doug, welcome back. What's going on?
Glad to be back, Dan. And I'm looking forward to this episode.
Alrighty,
We're in the playoffs.
you're in the playoffs.
In
Yes.
in the playoffs.
Yes. So let's look at that screen to kind of give everybody an idea of where that's at. If you give me a second here, we'll flip over to what used to be our virtual theater, but we've kind of had to modify it here for this show. So here we go. So here is a graphic of the postseason picture. You want to talk about this a little bit?
Yeah, I guess it'd be best to go from right to left. Um, the my Cardinals played the Philadelphia Phillies yesterday afternoon. We started about 1 o'clock in St. Louis. I think we had 46 or 47,000 screaming Redbird fans there, and it was a pitching duel all the way up to about the sixth or seventh inning. And Yepes, which is a reserve rookie outfielder infielder, came up and pinch hitted, and he hit a 2-run homer, and the
Wow.
crowd went crazy. Yeah, and Yepes is looking. Yepes is a buddy of Albert's,
Mm-hmm.
and his swing and his stance and everything, and the way he hits power is almost a mirror image of Albert now. And when he hits one, he goes back to the dugout and pulls it up on the iPad. So anyway, we had a 2-0 lead. It was a pitcher's duel. Um, Up to that point, the Phillies had their best ace going, and the Cardinals, we had our left-hander going, a guy we picked up from Pittsburgh at the trading deadline named Quintana. Quintana pitched good, and the Philadelphia pitcher, Zach Wheeler, pitched very good too. So we were doing pretty good until like and then Marmol, the manager, in the seventh inning, he brought in um, um, a relief pitcher. He got a couple guys out, and then he brought in Gallegos, and he pitched the eighth, and then or part of the rest of the seventh, and then he brought in our ace closer Hensley, pitched pretty good the eighth inning, and then the ninth inning with one out, he forgot where the plate was at. And he walked the bases loaded. Marmol should have put him out right then and there, but the Phillies scored a run, and it was like a little flare, and then with the bases loaded, they were able to score another run, and then at the end of the inning, he finally took Hensley out after that. But then and brought in Alante. Alante finally got him out, and the Phillies scored 6 runs.
Oh
So going
gosh.
into the bottom of the ninth, the score was 6-2,
Oh no.
and Busch Stadium was deflated. Yeah, you could just see the Redbird fans leaving the stadium.
Oh
Um,
my.
we got 2 outs. I think it was 1 or 2 outs, and then we got a guy on first, and then we got a guy on second, and Yadi Molina came, and there was 2 outs, and then Yadi Molina came up, and he grounded out the end of the game. But we did score 1 run that inning, so the final score was 6-3.
Wow.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
tonight at 7:30, we've got a guy named Miles Mikolas, our ace, our best pitcher on our staff this year. He's going against a Phillies pitcher named Nola, which is pretty good. So now these are short series now, so the Cardinals have to win tonight in order to stay in the playoffs because it's a best of three. So if we win tonight, then we'll go ahead and play in St. Louis again tomorrow.
Okay.
Okay, so it's up to see what we can do. We're still not hitting like we should. Goldschmidt is not hitting like he should. Arenado, he got a flare yesterday. He got a little base hit yesterday, but and Albert went 0 for 4. So we really need to go get it. So it's all it's they Marmol should use everybody he's got in
Right.
order to win that game.
Right.
Okay.
So what
And
is
then
the rest? Yeah, what does the rest of this
the
graphic tells us here?
okay, the second game is between San Diego and the Mets playing in New York. I would think New York would be favored.
Uh-huh.
All the sports writers, they like the Mets anyway. So San Diego, they had their best pitcher, a guy named Yu Darvish,
Uh-huh.
that played with the Cubs when the Cubs won the World Championship. Very good pitcher, and then they went against the a senior citizen of the Mets, a guy named Matt Scherzer. Matt Scherzer's, he's a good pitcher, very, very good competitor. Um, he doesn't mess around. And Scherzer didn't really have it last night. And so, but your Darvish did. And so they ended up, the San Diego Padres beat the Mets in the wild card game. Both of those teams are wild card.
Okay.
Okay. So, San Diego and New York. So the score was 5-4. Okay. And they go again tonight.
So the winner of that game will face the Los Angeles Dodgers. Is that the way I understand that?
Yeah. Atlanta and the Dodgers played last night in Los Angeles.
Okay.
I didn't get a chance to see that game because I had some stuff to take care of. But Atlanta beat the Dodgers 2-1.
Okay.
I've always said that's the two best teams in baseball right there, Atlanta and the Dodgers. So whoever wins the Cardinal Philly game and the San Diego Mets game, well, they'll fight. They'll play against Atlanta or LA for the NLS or for the wild cards for the
Okay. So
L. They call it the
basically, yeah.
NLDS.
So let's hypothetically say if St. Louis wins tonight, then they'll go on to play Atlanta, right? And
Yeah,
then,
we'll play them
yeah.
on Tuesday
Okay.
in
Okay.
Atlanta.
In Atlanta. So that won't be
Yeah,
a
because
home
Atlanta's
game.
got the best record.
Right.
What's that?
So that
Yeah,
won't be a home game for y'all.
for Atlanta, it'd be a home game for Atlanta.
Right. Not for
It's
St.
basically
Louis.
right.
Right.
We would play 3 games in Atlanta, and then
Okay.
if it goes past 3 games, then we come back to St. Louis.
Ah. Okay. All right. So the
Yeah,
same would be for San Diego or the Mets. The winner of that would face the Dodgers. Right?
the Dodgers are Atlanta. Whoever wins that series, and they would go out. They would go out to the West Coast and play the Dodgers. If say the Dodgers won the series against Atlanta, they would
Right.
that winner would have to come out to the Dodgers.
Okay. So
Okay.
basically here the the third column is the winners of the second column. Right?
Yeah. Correct.
Okay.
Okay. So that takes care of the National League. Now you run over to the American League. Tampa Bay played the Cleveland Guardians,
Oh,
not the
okay.
Cleveland Indians, but the Cleveland
Okay.
Guardians.
For a minute there, I thought I was looking at the Cubs. I said, how the hell did the
No,
Cubs get in there?
no,
No.
no. Well, wrong league. Wrong league for one thing, and the Cubs don't have the talent to get anywhere. So,
Okay.
but Tampa Bay played. They beat Cleveland in Cleveland, which is hard to do.
Yeah.
Okay, 6-3. Um, and then that was the first game, and then the second game was it was Seattle versus the Toronto Blue Jays
Mhm.
in Toronto.
Wow.
Yeah,
I
and
wouldn't want. I wouldn't want to
Seattle
play
won
in
that
Toronto.
game.
It's too cold.
Well, in Toronto, they have that indoor stadium we talked about last week with the hotel in it.
Ah, okay.
It's a very nice stadium. It's one of the eighth wonders of the world.
Yeah.
Yeah, your tax dollars at work, and or Canadian tax dollars
Canadian
at work.
tax dollars. David
Yeah,
Thurston tax dollars.
yeah, yeah. There you go. And so Seattle and the Blue Jays played. I would say the Blue Jays have the better team,
Okay.
but yesterday the Seattle won the game. That was the first time Seattle has won a playoff game in about 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that was kind of interesting. And then on Tuesday, no, on tomorrow the Yankees play the Astros. Now that's going to be a good game,
Okay.
and they're playing in Houston.
All right.
Okay,
So
so but
that's a home game for
I think the
Houston.
Astros have a better team.
Yeah. And then, of
Okay,
course, the winner of Tampa Bay and the Guardians will move into playing the Mets. Is that the way I understand the graphic?
no, they'll go in and
The
play
Yankees.
the
Yankees.
winner, the Tampa Bay Cleveland game and the Seattle Toronto game will go into either the Yankees or the Astros and play for the ALCS.
Right. Which is the third column.
Correct.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And then they'll battle it out, and then they'll play a 4 out of 7 series, and then the World Series starts.
Mm.
Okay.
And what
And
date?
that's going to be the best of 7.
And the date for the World Series right now? What's that scheduled for?
Probably around the 18th or the 19th of October.
Okay.
All depends if there's a wind rain out. Of course, if the Astros get in it, they play inside. In Seattle, they play inside. Toronto plays inside. Tampa Bay plays inside. Cleveland plays outside, and the Yankees play outside. So it could be both. It could be the ALCS could be an entirely indoor baseball game.
Wow.
Yeah,
Yeah. Wow.
yeah, because it's getting pretty cold in New York.
I bet. You know,
Yeah, I
they're
checked
not
the weather
like
this morning.
us
It's pretty
down
bad.
here, where we're still
No, it's
summer.
it's 80 degrees down here now, so it's very frigid 80 degrees. Matter of fact, I had to crank up the air conditioner for the podcast because I turned my ceiling fan off.
Ah. So overall in this graphic, Doug, if you had to take out your crystal ball and kind of look at this postseason, I mean, what do you think? What's going to happen here in these first columns? Who do you think will get to the second column, the third, and then finally this series? If you had to speculate or guess, I guess, if you want to call it.
I would say in the American League on the left hand side, the American League, my guess, you can write this down, it's going to be Toronto and Houston.
Okay.
Okay. And then on the National League, that's tough to say because Atlanta and Dodgers are both excellent teams.
Right.
But I would say probably I would have to go I'll go with Atlanta as one team. And even though the Dodgers have won, like they won 110 games, they won 111 games this year.
Mm-hmm.
And it's going to be a toss up between the Phillies, the Cardinals, San Diego, and the Mets. I don't think the Phillies, what I saw yesterday, they've got 2 good hitters in one of their hitters is playing injured, and Bryce Harper is, and he's not the same Bryce Harper than he usually is. And I think you can pitch around their left fielder, I think his name is Shamarlitz or
Mm-hmm.
something like that. Used to be an old Cub. Cardinals, I'd like for the Cardinals to get in, but man, unless Goldschmidt and Arenado get really hot, you know, it's going to be tough. San Diego, they've got all the superstars. They went out and got Soto at the trading deadline and Josh Bell, and they got Manny Machado and a couple other ball players. Fairly decent pitching. I don't think the Mets are going to make it.
Mm.
I don't think Mets have enough depth in their pitching.
Mm.
The polar bear, Pete Alonso, he's kind of cooled off a little bit. And so I would say probably my best guess, I'm going to take a long shot on this. I'm going to take Atlanta, and I'll take the Cardinals.
Ah, okay.
But I don't think the Cardinals, I thought it was kind of funny yesterday. In the seventh inning, bases were loaded, and Albert came up. And everybody on the Phillies, they went out to the pitcher's mound. The pitching coach, the manager, all the ball players, and all that. And because Albert was going to be up, okay, so it's like they all huddled around the mound, and here we are, all these ball players trying to decide how they're going to pitch this 42-year-old has-been, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but he grounded out. So anyway, I thought that was kind of funny because Albert's is still for us, and when it comes down to crunch time, he has the opportunities. I think Albert will come through.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Alrighty. Well, that gives us a pretty good idea of what to look out for here over the next couple of days.
Yeah. By Tuesday, actually Sunday night, we should have a pretty good idea what the next step is going to be.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. So what memorable story do you have for us today, Doug? Anything come to mind?
Yeah, I think we'll talk about our experience in St. Louis last year, around the 17th and 18th September. Okay, for those who don't know, I've been battling a hip surgery, and my hip got really bad last year in the first week in September.
Yeah.
So I went to the doctor in Harlingen that did the knee replacements, and I got a PA, and I complained about, I said, okay, it's hurting really bad. So he gives me a cortisone shot.
Yeah.
And the cortisone shot made it worse.
Oh, gosh.
On the hip. So we already had tickets for the St. Louis game. I could barely walk. And we had to fly, and we were under COVID at the time. So we had already had the tickets. We bought the tickets in June thinking the Cardinals would be out by then. They would be out of contention, but they were they were winning 17 games in a row that night. So we had to go. Wainwright was pitching.
Yeah.
And so here I am with a cane, and Divas helped me along. We fly out of Harlingen up to Harlingen to Austin, and from Austin to St. Louis.
Uh-huh.
And I got around the airport just barely. My hip was just killing me.
Wow.
Got into St. Louis. Then that night or the next day, we went to the ball game. That was the game. The Cardinals were going for 17 in a row. They played the Brew Crew that night. Wainwright was pitching, and we really had some good seats, but the seats were wasn't the green seats, but it was a loge area right behind the green seats in Busch Stadium. So I don't know how in the world I'm going to get to that. So we got through security, and anybody who's got artificial knees, when you go to the security there, they gotta do the wave deal, because you got implants in your knees. Yeah. So I told him, I said, I can't really walk. Do you have a golf cart? And they said, no, but we got a wheelchair.
Wow.
So they whipped out a wheelchair, and the Cardinals had an usher wheel me up to the seat. So we got in the seat, and we watched the game that night. Cardinals won. We were very happy. We had a really good time. And then the next day we had tickets for the next night game.
Yeah.
So we went back to the hotel, took an Uber back to the hotel, and then turned around. I think I watched a Soprano marathon. That was all I could do. I was popping ibuprofen, and
Oh
she
my
was putting
gosh.
ice packs on my hip. And we
Wow.
went to the game. Same situation. Go through security. Wait for a wheelchair. Whip me out there, and we watched the game. They lost that game, but we really had a good time. It's a very memorable experience.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I will say the ushers in Bush Stadium very very good. I mean they're
Wow.
very professional. Just nothing but they take care of you.
Yeah.
I got nothing but good things to say about the ushers and the staff at Bush Stadium because that's what they're there for. They're there for the hospitality deal, right?
Yep.
And
Absolutely.
and they were coming off of COVID, so the Cardinals, it's just opened up the stadium about a month before that, and so there wasn't crowds in there, and so they got the crowds. We got to see 17 in a row, and then later that game, when we got done, there's a ex-Cardinal infielder named Colton Wong. Colton Wong came up through the Cardinal farm system. He played second base for the Cardinals for about 6 years or so. So he went free agent the year before, and he signed with Milwaukee.
Yeah.
And if you go in through the third base side where we was waiting for an Uber, and here comes Colton Wong out the door. That's where the players come out at the end of the game,
Wow.
and then they go across the street at the state. There's a parking garage right across the street,
Uh-huh.
and Colton Wong was there, and he stood there and talked to us. Now, there were some other fans, but it wasn't that many. It was only about. It was pretty late.
Wow.
I mean, it was like an hour after the game because we found out you could get the best Uber rates if you wait an hour after the game.
Really?
Yeah, you can save half as much money.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah, and so we talked to Colton Wong, and he just happened to have a bobblehead night that night because I guess the Cardinals had a lot of bobbleheads left over from he was with the Cardinals, and
Yeah.
so they gave those away,
Yeah.
and he signed it and everything, and I got one for my grandson. So I like Colton Wong. Colton Wong was always a fan favorite with the Cardinals.
Yeah.
Still is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, believe it or not, I've only used Uber once and I didn't pay for it. So, it wasn't a bad experience, even though I did
I
pay for it.
We didn't even rent it when we went to St. Louis. We took an Uber from the airport, Lambert, to the hotel, and then we took one from the hotel to the stadium. Only way to go.
Yeah.
It's the only way to go.
Yeah.
And on the way back, on the next thing that was on a Friday morning, we came back to the valley. Well, somebody picked us up, an Uber driver, and guess
Yeah.
where he's from?
Brownsville.
He's from McAllen.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and so that we had war stories to tell about that, and
Yeah.
and so he was very nice, and he got a good tip out of it, and had nothing good things about Uber. They
Yeah.
were on time. We used DoorDash at the food at the hotel.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, it was a very pleasant experience, except for the hip.
Right. Yeah.
But
Well,
we did it. So
yeah. Well, that was very brave of you to have done all that, get on the plane, going through the airports and stuff like that. But you're a dedicated
well,
fan, so
well, not only that, I had an excellent partner with me.
yeah,
She took
yeah,
care of me.
that's
She could have
good.
dumped me a long time ago, but and but no, she helped me out quite a bit.
Yeah,
And then once we got inside the stadium, the ushers helped out quite a bit. So
yeah,
so
yeah,
they were there's a baseball fans, especially in St. Louis. I don't know how it is on other stadiums, but there's a lot of people my age at the stadium.
right.
If you look at on TV, just about all the stands are filled with people over 50,
Yeah,
50, 60s, like that.
yeah,
So
yeah,
yeah, so I mean, and that's what they're in business for, is to take care of the fans.
right.
So they took care of us. No, I was
Yeah.
very happy with them.
Wow.
I can't
All
say
right.
enough.
All righty. Well, even though our show was a little shorter than the last few, Obviously the game schedule now is getting tighter, so um, we've got a pretty good idea of what hopefully this coming week is going to look like. So we'll be back next Saturday again to kind of get a feel for how it went this week, and we appreciate Doug, you coming on again to kind of give us a take on, what it's going to look like. So,
My pleasure, Dan.
alrighty, everybody. Well, this is it for episode 4. Stay tuned this coming Saturday for an update on where the postseason looks like as we head into the World Series. Doug, as always, it's a pleasure, and we'll see you all next week.